no memento. Okay, so I'm gonna get my computer on and set up. I love love you. Just did it 2 seconds ago. Okay, we are here. There we go. Okay, I'm pretty sure, as you can see by the title, we've got a pretty predetermined topic here today. And that is a Reddit story that I had found. Run my extension test. Okay. So the stories I have were found through this YouTuber I watch called Meat Canyon. He has a podcast called Creekcast, and practically what that is him and his buddy finding different stories from SCP stories to different Reddit stories and topics and whatnot. And they spend an hour and a half to almost 3 hours talking about it. My wife actually read this story last night, but my mod wasn't here, and no offense to him, but we didn't realize our fucking mic died. We're too damn stoned. So we ended up streaming about, I'd say, a half hour to 45-minute story to nothing but dead air. I'm actually going to go ahead and get a little bit of background music going because we're not going to jump straight into things. I've still got a couple things I need to set up and get going. Well, yeah, I'm just going to play some light jazz, I guess, until everything gets together. here we are, boys. Oh, don't know if the ad's still going or if we're back or not, but hey, Katie. Welcome. I see. You need something? What? Yeah, I'm just getting around to getting things together. Had to finish smoking the black one. But no, uh, no, I actually included the name of what Reddit story we're reading in the title. Not the complete name because at that point it would have been pretty lengthy, but it's basically if you're at the Glenmont Metro and you're armed, or no, if you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. I think. Let me go find it real quick. Yeah, if you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot. But it is a little bit of a lengthy read. Last night Grace had read it to the stream, but sadly the camera was dead, so we didn't. Or not the camera, my bad. The microphone died, and we didn't realize it till after she ended the story. And it was about a 45, 30-minute read, so. And we thoroughly enjoyed the story, and I really wanted it to be featured on the stream, so I'm doing a retelling today. There's not much I really want to let on about the story because at this point I've heard it once, read it myself once, so I guess I've seen it twice. But it's one that grabbed my attention because just the general idea of the story itself is amazing. You've heard about people that are down in their luck, so they go to these medical labs and stuff where they offer compensation or money of some sort to test medicine. The medicine they had this dude test is what this whole story is caused by. That's what it starts with, is his morning going to the facility and taking the medicine they're having him, do trials on. The effects of it are outrageous. And there's actually a second part to this story that we found. And I plan on telling that if it doesn't take too long. I'm going to try to bounce back and forth in between my chat. Because, Caden, if you would, let me know when there's ads. Because my timer is bad about still saying there's an ad going. And, me already being back. So if you would, just let me know on that. And also, I guess, man, finish your walk. I know there's not one right now, but it says ad starts in 13 minutes and 6 seconds. So what it does is it'll say ad starting soon, and then I think 30 seconds later it starts one. My ads are set to run for 2 minutes. So at like 30 seconds, sometimes it'll come back, but it'll still say there's an ad running on my screen. So I'll just be sitting here quiet, and sometimes Grace is here and she's able to look at it and be like, "Hey, we're back," but you know, but we're probably gonna actually kick off the story itself around the 30-minute mark. So Caden, finish your walk, do whatever. We're gonna bullshit around for a little bit. I'm gonna do a few things on here, and yeah, then we'll kick things off then. I don't have much to do. It's just there's chat overlays that I was wanting to work with because the one I have, the mobile users have to go through um, overlay expert to see it, and at that point they're not allowed to full screen the fucking stream, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna try to find some way, rather it be through Streamlabs, Stream Elements, OBS. I want to find some browser source studio, whatever, so that I can do a little bit more with my stream. Hazel. Little girl's doing her best to get herself in trouble. Thank you, man. Yeah, sorry, I was on the website. Things have been good, really. Lately there hasn't been too much going on, but we are looking forward to cleaning out this back house. The way this property is there are two trailers here, but whoever put them here didn't want to saw them in half and put them together like a double wide, so they built them in an L shape. Well, I wouldn't really say an L completely. It's kind of a T. Either way, the houses are connected. When we moved in, the not hoarder. The hoarder stuff was like packed to the fucking ceiling, and there was only like a 2 or 3 foot wide path going through the entire house. This front house is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, so we just cleaned this one out. We've been living in this one. That back one they repurposed for somebody's sewing room, knitting room, bedroom. Basically, they knocked out the bathroom back there. The living room, bathroom are connected, big old one space. And then there's a closet and then kind of a kitchen area at the back. But either way, that house is still just 2 foot wide path all the way the fuck through. You know those big old dumpsters people get out when they usually build or renovate apartments and stuff? We had to get one of those just to clean this one out, and it is over full. We're gonna have to take some of the stuff out for them to take it, and we're gonna have to get another dumpster in to even be able to clean that one out. And this isn't the first time she's done it either. Her son told us right there on the, if damn, I'm not gonna take my phone all the way to the window, but I could see the side of the house here. You could see the section where her son and her husband had to just cut out the side of the wall and just shovel shit out because they apparently had gotten a dumpster out here before and cleaned the entire fucking house out. But within, I think they said 2 months, she had it looking like they never touched it. So we've been able to, with tax returns, and Grace was able to start working at Sonic. I'm getting a little bit here and there. Go on. Quit. You're fine. It's old. Old boo boo. It's healed. You don't need no band aid. Go. Go. But no, it's crazy. We have gotten enough money to get the dumpster, and we're happy that we're going to be able to clean it out. Just the actual doing of it is going to be an absolute bitch. But honestly, I'm thinking about doing what they did and just taking out the piece of wall that they patched the hole they cut out. And we're just going to get a couple of shovels, park the dumpster right there, and get that shit out. And yeah, Hazel's name was actually Grace's choice. And it came from a book, I believe. She wasn't directly named after the book, but it is a good book that Grace loved, and she did love um, the similarities and stuff. I think it was like A Fault in Our Stars. Yeah, Hazel and Augustus. I don't know. I've heard about it. I know it's like two cancer patients falling in love and stuff because who else have they got? Da, 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 da. But it was her choice. I love the name. Her name is Hazel Grace DeLue. And honestly, yeah, it's a bunch of trash. It is absolute garbage back there. When we clean it out, there's a handful of things that we intend on selling. Like there's a violin that we found that was from like the 1960s. There are military papers that go all the way back to the 20s through the 80s through like three different family members of his. They said they didn't want the papers. Um, there was a full size wooden piano that we found. I think I already said grandfather clock. If I didn't, grandfather clock. There was my brain wanted to say ceramic, but I want to say porcelain. Either way, there's little Japanese dolls in there that are apparently worth like $80 a piece. There's a chess set we found that apparently went back all the way to like 1890s France. 6 feet apart. I don't think so. Oh, yeah, no, but it looks like it's along the same lines as A Fault in Our Stars, just COVID themed instead of cancer themed. I can't really say much because I haven't seen either movies, but I feel like Grace would really like that. I'll suggest it to her. Do you know like where I can watch it? Like Hulu, Netflix, Amazon? Because we got about all of them. And honestly, I think the rest of the household liked A Fault in Our Stars, so it probably wouldn't be hard to convince them. I'll probably search it up real quick. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently there's a 5 feet or 5 feet apart as well. Because yes, I found 6 feet apart, and then we have the cast, Daniela Monet and Aaron Yu, fucking Rebecca Yao. But then there's 5 feet apart because I can't find like when you Google a movie, it'll have like the whole overview with casts, ratings, availability. This one really doesn't have much of an overview. It has an IMDb rating. It has a Wikipedia. It's just scrolling through here, I see it's rentable on Amazon Prime, but it's not like just available on any streaming services like that. Now, 5 feet apart is available on Apple TV, Amazon Prime Video, and Fandango. See, there it. See, the sixth one was the COVID shit. This one is 17-year-old Stella spends most of her time in a hospital as a cystic fibrosis patient. Her life is full of routines, boundaries, and self control, all of which get put to the test when she meets Will, an impossibly charming teen who has the same illness. This is an instant flirtation. The restrictions dictate, or that, though restrictions dictate that they must remain a safe distance between them as their connection intensifies, so does the temptation to throw the rules out the window and embrace the attraction. So 6 feet apart was COVID themed, and this one is cystic fibrosis themed. And apparently she's 17 in this, and I didn't really go that far into 6 feet apart. We'll do it the same justice. This one's got a lot shorter of a summary. 6 Feet Apart chronicles two Los Angeles misfits and complete opposites who had a match on a dating site a year prior to COVID, only to discover during quarantine that they actually live in the same apartment building. So one's cystic fibrosis, the other's COVID, and then we have A Fault in Our Stars with cancer. There's probably a few other ones. Man, we could have a whole Dying Love movie marathon. Oop, ads. Like to the VOD watchers, would it not be? I mean, I get yes, morbid, but it's beautiful. What? Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come give me. No, we're not playing the card game. Come give me a hug. Watch out. You say hi? No? You want to give me a kiss? You want one? Mwah. 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 I hope the trees are outside. Yeah. Yeah, the chickens are outside too. Hey, sit down. I'm standing on the bed. Okay, get down. I think we're back. Go to your room. Quit throwing around the dog toy. Yeah, no, I'll suggest that one because the COVID themed one seems interesting, but if 5 Feet Apart's the one that has higher ratings, that's the one that's more well known, then we'll start there. But I do say, Hazel, no ma'am, go to your room. It is about time for us to get going. What's the story? Go put it up. I don't know if this is the move. I'm trying to find like some spooky music to play over this. I don't think so. This one's called Frozen in Time. Go. Quit running back here with all your toys. Close your door. Okay. We'll get started. So, the story that we're reading today is called If You're Armed at the Glenmont Metro, Please Shoot Me. Make it a headshot. Shoot me right in the temple, aiming slightly downwards. I need the bullet to travel the shortest possible distance through my brain before it hits my hippocampus. If I'm lucky, the sensation of the gunshot ripping through my skull will only last a few decades. As awful as this sounds, you'll be doing me an enormous favor. Death by a headshot as soon as possible is vastly better than the alternative. Now, as far as the opening, we are reading from the perspective of the person that has fallen victim to this drug and stuff. The person who is wishing for someone to shoot them. This isn't a, I survived. This isn't, a flashback. Well, technically it's a flashback. But this is a real time story. This isn't, 2 days ago, 1 week ago, whatever, and then we bounce forward. This is a one day through and through. My ordeal started over 10,000 years ago at 10:15 this morning. I earned extra money by participating in a drug trial. I'm a so-called healthy subject who takes experimental drugs to help assess the side effects. Once it was a kidney drug, a few times it's been something for blood pressure, cholesterol, other things for thyroid treatment. This morning they told me the drug I took was a psychoactive substance. It was intended to accelerate the brain function. None of the drugs I had tested so far had done anything for me in the recreational sense. In other words, none of the drugs I've tested had given me a killer buzz or mellowed me out or anything trippy. Maybe I've always ended up in the placebo group, but nothing I've tested has affected me at all. So this was a complete blindside for our man right here. This was absolute, well, ban. He's tested, this here and there, but it's literally just to see what side effects are for the drug. This was probably a kick in the teeth for a boy. Today's drug was different. This shit worked. They gave me a pill at 10:15 and told me to hang out in the waiting room until they called me back for some tests. Only about 30 minutes, the research assistant told me. I flopped onto the waiting room couch and read a few articles from a copy of Psychology Today. It was sitting on the coffee table. They hadn't called me back when I finished the Psychology Today, so I picked up a U.S. News and read it cover to cover. Then I read an old Scientific American. What was taking them so damn long? I sluggishly turned my head to look back at the wall clock. It was only 10:23. I had read all three magazines in 8 minutes. I remember thinking this was going to be a long day. Shit, was I right. I slogged back to the couch and collapsed onto it in a slow motion fall. Oh, no, my bad. Rewind. The waiting room had a little bookshelf with some used hardcovers on it. When I stood up to walk to the bookshelf, it felt like my legs barely worked. It's not that they were weak, they were just slow. It took a full minute just to stand up off the couch, and another minute to take 2 steps to the bookcase. I scanned the old books on the shelf and picked out a copy of Moby Dick. My arms had the same problem as my legs. Just reaching out 1 foot in front of me to grab a book took a long time. I actually got bored just waiting for my hand to reach the spine of the book. I slogged back into the couch and collapsed onto it in a slow motion fall that reminded me of of the low gravity hops of astronauts on the moon. I opened Moby Dick slowly and began reading. I started with the Call Me Ishmael. Or no, I started with Call Me Ishmael and got as far as Ahab throwing his pipe into the sea, which is all the way to the fucking third or 30th chapter before they called me back. So this man has been able to sit there and read three psychology and science magazines cover to cover in 8 minutes. And he said how he was in the 30th chapter of Moby Dick. And that's a long ass book. I don't know. I don't know. It's not real. These are stories that are just made up to kind of fuck with you. This author specifically though is highly renowned. They called me back. How are you feeling? The research assistant asked me. I feel slow, I said. Actually, it's the other way around. Everything seems slow because you're so fast. But my legs, my arms, they're moving in slow motion. Your body seems like it's moving slowly because your brain is fast. Your brain is running 10 or 20 times faster than normal. You're thinking and perceiving reality at an accelerated pace, but your body is still constrained by the laws of biomechanics. Frankly, you're moving much faster than a normal person. She pantomimed a jogging motion. But your brain is running so much faster right now that even your fast walk seems very slow to you. I thought about my slow motion flop onto the waiting room couch. Even if my muscles had slowed down, my body still wouldn't react to the gravity, or my body would still react to gravity the same way. But in the waiting room, I even fell in slow motion. Slow muscles couldn't explain why gravity seemed weaker. My brain was going to warp 10. This is how I managed to read three magazines in the first 30 chapters of Moby Dick in 15 minutes. They ran a series of tests on me. The physical tests were fun. They made me juggle 3 balls, then 4, then 6. I had no problem keeping 6 balls in the air because they actually seemed to be moving so slowly. It was boring. Frankly, waiting for each ball to move through the air so its arc would end, I could catch it, then toss it back into the air. They threw Cheerios into the air, and I caught them with chopsticks. They dropped a handful of coins, and I was able to count the total value before they hit the ground. The cognitive tests were less fun, though. Very illuminating. Finish a 30-word word search, 3 seconds. Solve an incretive maze, onto a poster size, no, no, solve an intricate maze onto a poster sized piece of paper. 2 seconds. View a slideshow projected at 10 images per second and answer detailed questions about what I saw. 95% correct. They told me I measured over 250 on the Knox scale. Apparently, that's deep into superhuman range of thinking speeds. They sent me home and said it'll wear off in a few hours, which will seem like days to you. Try to use the residual effects to get some work done. Catch up on work emails while you're still in the high speed mode. So they basically screwed this man. They looked at him and said, "Well, thanks, bye." This part of the story always bugged me because usually, if they give you something, they give, if it's something that you can just eat a graham cracker and it'll wear off, or drink a big old fucking bottle of water, or you know, you need an actual medicine to counteract or whatever. Imagine just, well, bye. I mean, this man, you got to think about it. You walk over to your chair and plop down real fast. It's slow. Like he said, no matter how weak or tired your muscles are, no matter how slow you are moving, gravity should still be the same. Yet he fell like an astronaut. See? And I will let on a little spoiler. He himself did take a medicine to try to counteract it. But my friend, quite the opposite. We'll get back in. Actually, you know what? I have the ability to go ahead and run my ads. So since there are only 4 minutes left until the next one, that's not going to be enough time to get to the next paragraph. I'm gonna go ahead and run 2 minutes, and we're gonna go ahead and jump back in. So is it running right now? What the fuck? I pressed run 2 minutes. See, this is what I'm talking about. Right now it says ad in progress, 1 minute remaining. Well, uh, I'm not sure then. Yeah, I'll just have to pop back and forth. This should extend the timer though, because that's what sucks about leaving this tab to go read the story is I can't see my chat, so that's why I'm having to like read a little bit, come back and talk, read a little bit, come back and talk. Yeah, I should have a good 15, 20 minutes once this one ends, or what it thinks is running either way. So right now we were just at the point where they told him basically, hey, go ahead and go home. It'll wear off in a few hours, but in the meantime, try to get some work done. Use the high speed mode to your advantage. You got to think though, this, these few hours are going to be like days to him. If gravity itself is already being affected by the drug, these are the early effects. He's only sat there for what, 15 minutes, he said? 18 minutes? What was it? Yeah, 15 minutes. And they were already at this effect. Here we go. The ride home was horrible. It was only 3 metro stops, and in real world time, it only took about 35 minutes. But in my drug accelerated hyper time, it felt like days. Days. Just walking out of the medical research suite and onto the elevator seemed like it took an hour. I sprinted out of the office, willing my legs to push me faster, but the laws of biomechanics held me prisoner. As accelerated as my brain was, I couldn't do anything to make my legs work faster. The huge disconnect between my body and mind made it extremely difficult to judge how and when to slow down. Turning and rotating my body was difficult. I sorry, I lost my spot. Okay. I had basically turned into a giant slow motion spaz. I misjudged my speed and ran into the wall by the elevator. A pretty good speed. Even though I could see the wall coming at me, I couldn't make my finger outstretched to hit the elevator button move away fast enough, and I jammed it into the wall. Hard. The pain was intense. If my brain had been running at regular speed, it probably would have only hurt for about 30 seconds or so. But in my accelerated state, the intense pain seemed to last for about half an hour, 45 minutes maybe. The elevator ride was horrible as well. It felt like I spent 4 or 5 hours just descending 7 floors, with nothing to look at but the interior of the elevator car. I sprinted to the metro station, and I have to admit, this part was almost fun. Even though my body moved at what seemed to be super slow speed, I could still carefully choose how and where to place my feet, swing my arms, and turn my torso. It only took a block or two of getting used to having a brain that ran 2 dozen times faster than my body, but I basically sprint danced the rest of the way, twisting and juking between people on the sidewalk, dodging and moving cars within inches, aka minutes of clearance. So to him, running through people right now, he has, about a 5 minute gap in his brain. Even though this car is this close to him, he still has 5 minutes to react and move. That would be insane. No matter how fast you run, your brain is always going to have. See, the translation from real time into like, I don't understand how certain things are possible in this, and it really is a mind boggler. I spent an hour in my time frame descending into the subway and running onto the platform. Endless tedium waiting, the 6 minutes for the red line train to arrive. Well, endless tedium waiting, the 6 minutes for the red line train to arrive. Although there was more to look at on the metro platform than inside the elevator, it was intensely boring. I should have stolen a copy of Moby Dick. The red line train roared into the station in slow motion. The normally high-pitched squeal of its brakes was a frequency shifted by my high-speed mind into a low tone, like almost a tuba solo. It wasn't just this squealing subway train that was 3 octaves lower than normal. All sound was slowed to the point of almost near inaudibility. Voices were gone, shifted below the threshold of frequency of my hearing. I did manage to hear a screaming baby on my subway car. Her shrieks slowed to a sound like whale songs. Sharp sounds like car horns and trucks bouncing over potholes were low, muddied roars like distant thunder. Back at the research offices, I could still hear and communicate with the research staff, but now verbal communication with anyone would be impossible. The effects of the drug were still intensifying. So, just in the time that he's left the office, walked 2 blocks, and got on a subway, the effects have hit him, I'd say about two or threefold. Because, like he said, at first, he could still listen and communicate. At first, he could still, move, function. He didn't just absolutely run across the room and miss the chair. He sat down almost properly enough to where he still felt like he had control over his body. But now his brain is moving at such a speed that his body is having to almost, prepare itself to stop well before its point. That's the point I can't understand. Is just the disconnect between mind and body at that point. Like the description of him not being able to stop before the elevator and just smacking into the wall, not being able to, stop before he hit the button, just smashing it hard. That's a decent description, but I just can't really lay it out for myself, and I definitely can't put it into words. I spent what seemed like fucking days on that red line train. Days listening to the whale song of that screaming baby and the tuba solo of the brakes. Where ordinary voices were frequencies shifted out of my audio range, smells didn't seem to be affected. I never became nose blind to the odor, the stench of the train's brakes, and the lineage of farts and other smells wafting through the metro car. I finally got back to my apartment, sprinting through my open door and into the front hall at full speed. It was like a slow, relaxing drift down a lazy river. I was relieved to be home. At least I had stuff I could do there. I picked up a book I was reading, 100 Years of Solitude, and finished it. Despite turning the pages so quickly that I tore many of them, it seemed like most of the time I'd spent finishing the book was spent on page turning and not actually reading. 3 minutes had passed since I got home. I tried surfing the internet. My God, it takes a long time for computers to boot these days. But it was too frustratingly slow. Hours, seemingly, to load each new page and a fraction of a second to read it. 100 articles in my news feed read in just 3 more minutes done. What? Hi. Mama's at work. Go. I decided to dip in my pile of yet to be read books and finish two more. 4 minutes had passed. I decided to try to sleep off the remaining effects of the drug. Unfortunately, whatever part of my mind was responsible for perception had been accelerated. But at the same time, the part that governs sleep had not been affected. Despite being awake for what I perceived as days, my physical brain still thought it was 1:25 p.m. and it was not ready for sleep. Nevertheless, I tried to sleep. I walked to my bedroom, aka a slow 45-minute drift through my apartment, and flung myself into bed, lazily falling like a feather onto the mattress. I closed my eyes and lay there for hours and hours and hours. It was only 10 minutes of reality time before giving up. Sleep would not come. I was facing what was going to feel like days or maybe even weeks of being trapped in a slow motion prison. So I took an Ambien. See, that's another thing that I really love, and I was absolutely giddy to find a second part to this story because the descriptions, the wording, I'm dog shit at reading, and I apologize for it, but go check it out yourself. I can give you a link to the Reddit page. It's amazing. But what I want to see are the after effects. What is left of this man after this drug wears off? Now you're gonna get to see what happens when he takes an Ambien. Now, for anybody watching this or anybody who's gonna be watching the VOD, if you don't know what an Ambien is, it slows you down. It puts you to sleep. So whether you want to or not, no, you're not coming to show me your mini. Go. I've already seen her 1,000 times. Rather not you want to, even if you're sitting there in a mid conversation with your buddy, you're gonna doze off then and there. It don't matter if you planned on it or not. Once you take that pill and it kicks in, The furthest disconnect I've ever felt was during surgery. I had an operation because I actually had an extra set of canines grow in, but they were in my nasal cavity because my adult teeth didn't want to come out. The only form of disassociation I've ever felt was the feeling of falling into the anesthetic sedation when I was going down for the surgery, basically when they're knocking you out. That feeling was just unreal. It didn't really feel like lightheadedness, passing out. It didn't feel like sleepiness. It felt like, my mind was still awake. My energy was still there, but my body just, and not necessarily as in trapped in a form of prison, mentally. I was still able to choose what I wanted to do, to think my thoughts. I don't know if it was a spiritual thing or if it was literally happening, but in my mind, I was walking around the hospital and stuff, just going the path we came in, and because I don't know if that's just what my mind chose to dream about, or if that whole, when you're underneath anesthesia, you can astral project or whatever. I'm not going to go that far into it, but that's the furthest extent of disassociation I've ever felt. This man, I'll go ahead and give you another spoiler. Once the Ambien kicks in, he is living lifetimes in his brain. Lifetimes. He describes walking from his living room to his bedroom as a 45-minute drift. He explains literally jumping into bed as falling like a feather. So instead of just, the mental image they painted of an astronaut jumping on the moon, it was like a feather. And you'll actually find out a little bit. Gravity actually plays a little bit of a role in this. I never had any like acid trips or something like that. I've honestly wanted to have a projective experience, rather it be like the shamans, the native shamans, or whatever. I want to have some type of experience where my mind willingly disconnects from my body long enough to explore, discover, whatever you want to say. Let's hop back in. So he took an Ambien after feeling like he couldn't sleep. He tried sleeping, but the effects of his mind that made him tired and shit wasn't affected by the drugs. So mentally, it was still 1 in the afternoon to him. So he took an Ambien to try to knock him the fuck out. The sensation of the pill and the splash of the water I used to swallow it sliding down my throat was sickening. A lump that blocked my breathing, moving like a slug down my esophagus. I read a book. 10 minutes had passed. I read another. 18 minutes since I took the Ambien. I threw the book across the room in disgust at my situation. The book slowly pureed and spun through the air, like a leaf blowing in a breeze. It hit the wall with a long, faint rumble. The only sound I'd heard was just his head. I'm gonna have to drop a comment, let them know. The only sound I heard for what seemed like hours, then drifted to the floor like a flip-flop sinking into a swimming pool. The force of gravity hadn't changed since I took the pill. The laws of physics were still the same. It was just my perception of time that had gone wackadoo. This meant I could use the speed things seemed to fall as a way of judging the effects of the drug. Based on how long it took the book to drift to the floor, I estimated the effects of the drug were still intensifying. I read a magazine, turned on the television, and I clearly saw each frame of video like I was watching a slideshow. Frustrated, I turned the television off. I read some more. No, I read some more. The first two books of Churchill's A History of the English-Speaking Peoples. Not exactly a light read. Frankly, I hated it. But given the hours of tedium it would have taken to get another book off my shelf, Just sitting on the couch and reading Churchill was better, or at least worse, or at least less worse. It had now been 35 minutes since I took the Ambien. I lay down on the couch and closed my eyes. Time passed. I inhaled. An hours long process. Time passed. I exhaled for more hours. Sleep would not come. I needed a new plan. I decided to go back to the offices where they gave me the drug. Maybe they have something that could counteract its effects, or at least something to knock me out till it wore off. I exited my apartment as fast as possible, taking hours in my time frame to do so. I didn't even bother locking the doors, it would have taken too long. Down the stairs, it's faster than the elevator if you run. Through the lobby, out the front door, and onto the street. These things felt like a long day at the office. Sprinting down the street, dancing and weaving between pedestrians with what must have looked to them superhuman dexterity. Down the first flight of stairs at the metro, across the landing, another hour. Then onto the second flight of stairs, onto the second flight of stairs. That's when the Ambien hit me. The Ambien didn't make me sleepy, not at all. Instead, it must have had a severe cross reaction with the experimental drug I took this morning. I was bounding down the second flight of stairs, moving in slow motion, but still making perceptible progress. Then, wham! Everything stopped. So he initially had something that sped up his mind, and he figured that if he took an Ambien, it would put him to sleep. Quite frankly, whatever cross reaction it had with this experimental drug, the original, like, 10th, like, he was perceiving time at about a tenth of its, natural rate mentally. According to him, everything stopped. When he was, moving and gliding through traffic, now he's not moving. Everything is just frozen. Hazel, you don't have to run out of your room every time they go outside. Jesus. Okay, we'll hop back in. The dull roar of the street and metro noise ceased, replaced by the most perfect silence I've ever experienced. My downwards motion seemed to completely freeze. Before the Ambien kicked in, my perception of time was maybe a few hundred times slower than real time. After the Ambien took effect, time moved thousands of times slower. Every second seemed like days to me. Even just moving my eyes to focus on a new point was like an impossibly slow scroll across my visual field. Over the course of the afternoon, I had learned how to walk, run, and jump when my mind ran hundreds of times faster than my body. But with another 4 or 5 orders of magnitude of slowdown caused by the Ambien, body control was almost impossible. I fell on the stairs. Even though I was all but frozen in mid step, controlling my muscles were impossible. I command my foot forwards for hours, then backwards for hours. More when it seemed like I would miss the next step. Hours attempting to adjust my angle of the ankle, then readjusting it when it felt wrong. Despite these efforts, I rolled my ankle on the next step. The pain was all but mitigated by the slowness. Hours of the increasing strain on my bent ankle. The nerve signals that send pain into the brain must work differently than the nerves in my ear. Sonic energy was spread out over time. Diluted until it was imperceptible, my brain or pain flowed into my brain, undiluted by the change in my perception of time. Hours and hours of increasing weight on my turned ankle turned into hours of increasing pain upon increasing pain. I pitched forwards, my high speed mind completely unable to control my low speed body. I drifted downwards for days. Managing to rotate my torso enough to keep my head from impacting the ground first, I eventually landed on my right shoulder. At first, the impact wasn't even noticeable, but then I felt a slight pressure in my shoulder as it came to contact with the ground. The pressure grew, bringing increasing pain for hour upon hour. My shoulder finally gave out, popping out of its socket with an endless, sickening tug. Ah, I sound funny. Complete zombie. So you had to reassociate with reality in a way. Yeah, the only way I've ever disassociated was with surgery, and that was just kind of a memory for me. But I've never had like something that lasted. And if I sound funny, then so fucking be it. I can't sit here and just holler and yell into this little mic because its range is not great. So if I yell too loud, then it just sounds like them little kids you hear raging on fucking games online. And also, I'm using a reader's voice, you asshole. I'm trying to make the story sound spooky. But yeah, no, imagine being the fall. You know, at first, like he said, his perception of time mentally was 100 times slower. But once the ambient hit, it was thousands. The like tear of his ankle rotating, the slow pop out of socket. I mean, he felt every single microsecond, not millisecond, not decisecond, microsecond, every single bit, every single little pulse that his nerve sent off, his brain received thousands of times slower than it should have. Jesus Christ. It says ad starting soon. At this point, I don't know. Rather not to trust it. So we'll see. I'm not gonna get cut off by this little ad issue. I don't know what it is. The timer says, ad in progress, but apparently there won't be one. Or it'll say there's still one in progress, but apparently it already ended. It's fun. Real fun. Okay, it says ad is currently in progress. I'll trust my word. Going off of this piece of shit. Wonky. Trying to cut it. Okay, we're back. Okay, so we had just ended where the Ambien kicked in and it caused him to just absolutely tumble down the second flight of stairs into the metro station. So at this point, his ankle's twisted, his shoulder's out of socket, and he's laying on the ground. I came to a stop days later, crumpled onto the ground, staring at the ceiling. The pain in my shoulder still screaming with the intensity of a fresh violent injury. I had plenty of time to think during that fall. If every second seemed like days to me, then every minute of real world time would be like years. Even if the drug cleared out of my system in the next 2 to 3 hours, this nightmare would seem to last centuries. By the time I hit the ground, I had a plan. I would somehow get to the platform and throw myself in front of the train. I twisted onto my hands and knees, days of my dislocated shoulder crying for relief. I misjudged my rotation and rolled onto my back. I tried again, collapsing onto my face as I tried to figure out how to control a body that moved slower than grass grew. Weeks of effort were finally rewarded with success. I stabilized on my hands and knees. If just getting on all fours was this difficult, I figured that walking or running was completely out of the question. So I crawled. I crawled through the metro tunnel. The dumb looks on the faces in the crowd lingered on me for weeks. I crawled under the turnstile and onto the escalator. The escalator spilled the rush hour crowd onto the platform at the same speed a glacier spills ice into the sea. I looked out over the crowded platform during my interminable downward ride. The train status sign said the next train wouldn't arrive for 20 minutes. 20 minutes was like a year to me. I had to spend a year on the metro platform, waiting to die. I crawled off the escalator, enduring days of stupid expressions on the commuters' faces. I crawled a few feet to the concrete bench and curled up next to it, trying to find a position to lessen the pain in my shoulder. Then my problem with time got worse, impossibly worse. The massive slowdown on the stairs was just the beginning of the interaction between the experimental drug and the Ambien. It fully hit me while I was curled up by the bench. I blinked. Years of darkness followed. Sound was already gone. With my blink, sight was gone as well. All that existed was the pain from my fall. My hyper-accelerated mind wasted no time compensating for the lack of sensory input. Voices spoke to me. They sung to me in languages that never existed. Patterns in faces and colors came and went in my mind's eye. I recalled my whole life and imagined living another. I forgot English and settled into a profound despair. I spoke to God. I became God. I imagined a new universe and brought it to life within my thoughts, and then did it all again, again, and again. My eyes opened with geologic slowness, a faint glow, weeks, a slit of light, weeks, a narrow view of the metro platform, ankles of the commuters near me, an advertisement on the opposite wall. I extracted my phone from my pocket, a project that spanned decades. How can I even explain the boredom? The pain in my shoulder is nothing compared to the boredom. Every thought I can think, I've thought hundreds of times. The view of ankles and advertisements never changes. Never. The boredom is so intense, it's tangible, like a solid object of metal and stone wedged into my skull. Inescapable. What are my options? If I fall onto the tracks without an oncoming train to crush me, I won't die. I'll experience even more pain from the 4-foot fall, and I'll most likely be rescued by some do-gooder on the platform and unable to act when the train finally does arrive. My suffering in that scenario will be endless, so I wait for the train. I want to throw myself under it. When it finally hits me, I will experience the pain of being ripped to pieces for centuries until finally the light of life leaves my brain and my experience ends. I've lived hundreds of lifespans at the foot of this bench. I'm far older in spirit than any man who has ever lived. Most of my life experience has been a snapshot of pain huddled on the floor of a subway platform with an unchanging view of ankles and advertisements. This post is my plan B, my Hail Mary, my long shot. I've spent lifetimes typing and posting this message in hopes that someone will read it and become convinced that my suffering must end. Someone on this platform right now. Someone who will find the man curled under the bench, the man who crawled down the escalator. Kill him as swiftly as possible. A bullet to the temple. If you're armed at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. And crazy story. Now, I will remind you that is only part one of two that we are reading. So, that is a good spoonful of what this author offers as far as, description and how they can really grab the viewer's attention. And it's great. It's great. I hope you understand my interest in this story. Now, the only thing I will let on for now is that only reason I'm saying this is because gotta go check on Hazel and stuff. But the only thing I'll let on for now is part two is actually written from the doctor's perspective, at least what I've seen so far. Instead of it being his perspective, if you're armed at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. It's the doctor's perspective. My patient lived 8 billion years under a subway bench or something like that. Now, this story has a little bit of age to it. It is 6 years old, but I honestly don't think it has circulated as much as it should. This story deserves a lot more attention. This author deserves to be published. And we will hop into part two once I return. So I guess I'll resume the happy jazz music for now. I can find it. Damn. I'm having trouble finding it, but the first thing I'm seeing is Rat Detective Boogie. So, okay. Yeah, y'all chill with that. I'll be right back. I had to scream with my roommates. Sorry, I gotta grab my slides. We're gonna be smart and do a mic swap. We call that using our noodle. Shit ain't got no business being so funky. Oh shit! The hell, that's not funky fresh. Oh snap! Well, shit. Spooky. I think that's running right now. What's Hunter's going? Rest in peace, George Foreman. We're back. We're back. Where we at? Oh, 3, 2, 1. And supposedly we're back. Okay. We're going to shift into our second story. Scary boy. Scary boy. Ricky. Or not. Fucking asshole. I'm doing a quick little overview. Just make sure there's not anything about like children or essay. Yeah, it should be. Probably will after the stream, actually. Honestly, we'll take a quick vote real quick. I can hop off of this since I got the first story out of the way, and I can save part 2 for when Grace gets off. Because the main purpose of this stream was to just do a retelling of the story she told last night. Was because she got cut off by the damn mic and it died. Honestly, it kind of sounds like a good idea to me too. What? What? Quit. Yeah, she hasn't texted me since she went to work. But honestly, yeah, I'm thinking about saving it for later because the main purpose of this stream was to tell the story. And honestly, I can get view time. I can just fucking stream Fortnite. That sounds good with you if you'd like to participate. If not, then we will just move to ours. You know what? Fuck yeah. We'll continue this conversation on Instagram. Peace out, y'all. I really hope you enjoyed the Reddit story. We will be doing a part 2 either later on tonight or possibly tomorrow. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken with my wife about it yet, but I will try to have her participate in the next one. Like I said, the purpose of this stream was to do a retelling of the story. And the only reason I call it a retelling is because Grace told it last night, but Pretty Little Mike here died, so she got completely cut off for no reason. And I have a very high interest in the story and the author that wrote it. Just want to get it out there. The story I read was if you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. It was written by user slash Sarcosonomicon, and it is in the r slash no sleep section on Reddit. If you want to go read it yourself, feel free. we should be doing a part two tonight, and that one is from the doctor's perspective, from the assistant and the administrator that gave him the drug. This one's going to be called "My Patient Spent 8 Million Years Under a Bench at the Glenmont Metro," and they don't even say his name. I don't think we got to learn his name in the last one. We didn't really learn any names, in fact. Kind of a cool little key. And they just reference him as clinical trial subject S47 in this one. So, yeah, that'll be a pretty good read. And I hope y'all are part of it tonight. Anybody who checks in with this VOD before later on tonight, feel free to follow and get a notification when we go up with it. Part two coming soon. Wow. Peace out, y'all.